This is NNI Bites Big Learnings, a podcast where fellow healthcare professionals converse about the latest on nutrition science. Join us as Hania Shayevska and Bruno Barreto share their knowledge and insights on microbiome and food allergy, what it means in the era of non-communicable diseases.
Hello and welcome to today's special episodes of the NNI podcast, NNI Bites Big Learnings. My name is Hania Shayevska. I'm professor and chair of the Department of Pediatrics at the Medical University of Warsaw, Poland, and I am your host for today. We will discuss a fascinating topic, microbiome and food allergy, and what it means in the era of non-communicable diseases. We will explore how the microbiome influences food allergies and its role in the rising wave of non-communicable diseases. And today we have a very special guest, Professor Bruno Barreto from Para University Center in Brazil, member of the Department of Allergy at the same institution. Among Bruno's many functions, he is a coordinator of the Childhood Allergy Department at the Brazilian Association of Allergy and Immunology and the sub-coordinator of the Microbiome Department at the Latin American Society of Allergy, Asthma and Immunology. And clinically, he is practicing pediatric allergist and immunologist. We are excited to have Professor Bruno Barreto with us today. Welcome. Bruno, Para University Center in Brazil. Could you please tell us a little bit more about your institution?
Hello, Hania. It's a pleasure to me to be here and with you to discuss the microbiome and food allergy. I would also like to thank you, our listeners of the NNI podcast in advance. I work at the Para State University Center. We are a private institution, still young, with less than 40 years of existence, located in the city of Belém, in the state of Pará, in north of Brazil, inside the Amazon forest almost. We offer many health-related graduation courses and have extensive experience with new teaching and learning methodologies, such active methodologies like problem-based learning and realistic simulation. Although we are a private institution, we have a partnership with the Brazilian public health system, providing free of charge healthcare services to the population at the primary, secondary, and tertiary levels. And additionally, due to the genetic, sociocultural, and geographical characteristics of our population, we have a rich field for clinical research, especially in the area of microbiome and chronic non-communicable disease, such food allergy. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Excellent, excellent. Bruno, so this means the last 4 years of your work, but what inspired you previously to specialize in allergy and immunology?
Interesting question, Hania. Perhaps and probably unintentionally, I have always been a very allergic person. Since childhood, I had allergy to cow's milk, allergy when I was very young. And later in life, I started to have allergic rhinitis. And more recently, I started to have allergy to medications, to non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. In other words, I have clearly followed the atopic march, so well known to us allergists. So maybe trying to solve my own allergic problems and help other people in the context, especially in the area of medicine, as intriguing as clinical immunology, we are like two predisposing factors for me reaching at this point. Maybe it's not intentionally, but this is my story.
That's fascinating. And this is not so often, that you have a specialist who is not only specializing in the disease, but also has his own personal experience, which of course helps very much your patients. Thanks a lot. Thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, Bruno, everyone is talking about the microbiome. We define it like a collection of all the microorganisms living on us and in us, mainly in our gut. And these microorganisms play crucial roles in our overall health, including our immune system. They are also a key topic of discussions about food allergies in recent years. In a nutshell, please, how does microbial diversity relate to the rising cases of food allergies in today's era of non-communicable diseases?
Great question, Hanya. But perhaps to answer it more clearly, we need to do a reverse reasoning exercise. In other words, what would happen to our immune system if you were born in a germ-free environment? What would happen to our immune system if you do not have microbes inside our gut? Most likely, we would die within a few hours or days. With this understanding, it becomes easier to answer your question. The richer and more diverse our microbiota, especially in the first few months of life, the better developed and mature our immune system will be. The immune maturation translates into the immune tolerance process, which helps explain the importance of this scenario for the prevention of allergy disease, such food allergies, as well as other chronic non-communicable diseases typical of our modern society, such as metabolic syndromes, obesity, autoimmune disease, and maybe cancer. So I think this is the key points of this scenario.
Yes, so I think we both agree it's not only food allergies, but many other diseases that are really related to these disturbances of gut microbiota. Well, early colonization, we both know, is really crucial for a healthy microbiota. And there are many factors such as mode of delivery, antibiotic use, diet. Diet is a very strong modulator of gut microbiota. But all of them and some others that can affect this early colonization. And this may lead to gut microbiota changes and it impact food allergy and, as you said, also other diseases. Could you please elaborate a little bit on those factors which really have an impact on early colonization, because we are pediatricians?
Yes, of course, I can. Building on what I said early, and consider that the more diverse our microbiota, especially in the first 1,000 days of life, any factor that interferes with this process can directly influence immunomodulation process. To illustrate, there are several well-conducted prospective cohort studies that show us, for example, a direct relationship between the use of antibiotics in the first year of life and the possibility of future food allergies by the age of 5. Other cohorts establish a direct relationship between being born by cesarean section and development of future asthma. It is clear that since these are multifactorial diseases, genetics for atopy, social cultural conditions, and other risk factors such early weaning, inadequate diets, and social isolation also have a significant influence in this context.
Yeah, when you are saying so infants born by C-section, you are coming from Brazil, and I know that the rates of cesarean section in your country are really very, very high. Well, I think we both agree that prevention is better than cure. And could you please discuss some proven intervention to support a healthy gut microbiota for preventing food allergy? What should be the main goal for healthcare professionals for the prevention in food allergies in early life?
Yes, of course. And as a pediatrician, I agree 100% with you that prevention is the key of the health life. In this context, we should start thinking about prevention before birth, during the conception and the gestation period, by following a health diet during pregnancy and minimizing the use of medications, especially antibiotics in the pregnancy also. Additionally, priority natural childbirth at all costs as a public health strategy is essential. Unfortunately, it's not happening in many countries, as I told you earlier, including Brazil. It is sad, but it's reality in many countries, not only in Brazil. And finally, but no less important, exclusively breastfeeding for at least 6 months of age is crucial for tolerance process, which are fundamental for the prevention of allergic disease and other non-communicable disease.
Yes, Bruno, you mentioned the importance of breastfeeding, and it's difficult to disagree with you, of course. We all agree that protecting, promoting, and supporting breastfeeding will save more life of babies and children than any single preventive intervention. There is this beautiful study published a few years ago in The Lancet. Can you please summarize how components of human milk, such as human milk oligosaccharides, help the immune programming of infants and how they contribute to the development of a healthy gut microbiome?
Great point, Hanya. Of course, breastfeeding is the gold standard for exclusive nutrition in the first 6 months of life. Human milk contains water, lipids, proteins such as casein, and immunoglobulins like secretory IgA, and various other immune active components. However, perhaps the most important components for the development of the health microbiota are the complex carbohydrates present in breast milk, known as human milk oligosaccharides or HMOs. Human milk contains more than 200 different types of oligosaccharides, which are attributed with various functions such as bifidogenic and prebiotic power, which is fundamental for the development of health microbiota, direct antibacterial and anti-adhesive immune functions, and the function of reinforcing the intestinal barrier, preventing the process of leaky gut, which is the pathophysiological basis for the development of many immune-mediated disease that begins with the process of dysbiosis or non-functional microbiota, as you told me earlier. And this process starts with dysbiosis and goes on with leaky gut, immune alteration, and inflammation. Maybe this the key pathophysiological process of this disease.
Yeah, human milk oligosaccharides, they are known for years, but in a way discovered again. And there's hardly any meeting nowadays that we are not talking about human milk oligosaccharide, also because they are now, some of them can be manufactured and can be added to infant formula.
Yes.
For those infants who can be breastfed. Well, you mentioned dysbiosis, and you mentioned, and not every listener is familiar with the conversation that we had earlier. But the dysbiosis, some people are questioning this term dysbiosis, and the reason is that we cannot well define what is a normal health-associated gut microbiota, and therefore some of the experts are questioning. So just an explanation for our listeners why we are a little bit hesitant when we are using the word dysbiosis. Okay,
Really?
for our listeners, before we finish, Bruno, what are some practical tips that you can offer to maintain a healthy microbiome and reduce the risk of developing food allergies? Something that everyone should remember, like easy tips to remember.
Yes, in conclusion, and thank you for the opportunity, and already thanking everyone who listened to us. I would like to say that it's not difficult to establish a health microbiota from the first month of life. We just need to do what we have always known and what Mother Nature has taught us. In other words, maintain a healthy lifestyle and a balanced diet during pregnancy, avoiding the excessive use of medication, especially antibiotics. Being born naturally and exclusively breastfed for 6 months of old. Have an appropriate weaning with the introduction of a rich diet, balanced diet, avoiding fast foods and ultra-processed foods. Avoid antibiotics in the first year of life and receive the appropriate antigenic stimuli, such as contact with nature and adherence to the proper vaccination schedule. So the use of the prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotic supplement can be interesting preventive strategy for a health and balanced future. These are my precious tips. They aren't difficult, are they? What to do? What to think about that?
Well, some of them it's easier. Some of them it's much easier to say than to follow in life. But some of them, like first, do no harm. I fully agree with you. First, do no harm. Reduce antibiotics unless they are really, because sometimes they are really life-saving. We both know. Cesarean section. For many situations, it's a life-saving procedure, but for very many cases, not really so. So, I mean, breastfeeding, of course, they really need to make efforts to protect, promote, and support breastfeeding. So there are some tips which are easier to follow, and some of them which are a little bit more complicated.
Yes, sure.
Bruno, thanks a lot for sharing your insights. Really, I highly appreciate that you had some time to talk to us. And to our listeners, please remember that maintaining a healthy microbiome is crucial for overall health, not only for food allergies, as we mentioned it, but also for other diseases. So please stay tuned for more discussion on the latest in health and nutrition research. And if you have any questions or topics you would like to be covered by these NNI talks, please feel free to reach out on NNI social media channels, and I'm sure they will be covered in the next podcast. And I thank you everyone for joining us today. Special thanks to Bruno. Thank you very much. Professor Bruno Barreto from Brazil was our host for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hania. Thank you very much.
And that concludes today's episode. Thank you for joining us with Hania Shayevska and Bruno Barreto as we talked about microbiome and food allergy, what it means in the era of non-communicable diseases. We hope you enjoyed and learned from this quick discussion, fellow experts. Till the next episode.